Hi, I'm Grady Summers, CEO of Netwrix, and one of the things we're most excited about sharing in this Innovation Week 2025 is our new version of Access Analyzer, Access Analyzer 26. So I'm joined here by Jeff Warren, Netwrix Chief Product Officer. Jeff.
Grady, good to be here.
Good to be talking with you.
Yeah.
So Access Analyzer,
Yes.
maybe tell everybody, what is it?
Yeah, so Access Analyzer, its focus is data security. So it's a product that goes into an organization, scans their environment, finds where all the data is, most importantly, the sensitive data, and then looks at who has access to it, how do they have access, and then helps remediate and find ways to fix that access so that ultimately customers' data can be secured, protected, achieve that least privileged dream to keep their data safe.
Now, Access Analyzer, probably one of the, if not the most broadly used data security tool out there because it's been around for a long time. It's gone by a lot of names, right?
It sure has, yeah. There's been a few. And actually, 15 years ago, I started with the company with Netwrix as the product manager for Access Analyzer. So I've been here through all the name changes.
And what was it
all
called back then?
That was Stealth Audit.
Okay.
So yeah, that was the first name. And it's actually Stealth Audit Management Platform.
Oh,
So I don't even know if I could rattle off all the name changes we've had, but extremely proud of what we accomplished with the product and the reach that we had.
Yeah.
We really designed it to scale to the biggest enterprises out there and help solve some really, really complex problems.
So it's one of our most popular products here at Netwrix, has a big following, big user base. Why did we decide to make some changes?
Yeah, I guess the easiest way to look at it is the problems that we set out to solve 15 years ago, while on the surface there's still data security, a lot's changed since then, right? So back then, when we would go into customer environments, it was typically, even a large enterprise customer, their data would be spread across thousands or tens of thousands of endpoints, Windows file servers, and each one might have little pockets of data that they needed to go scan and collect. And we built the product exactly for that. Things are different now. So the adoption of the cloud, and also within file systems even, customers moved away from those distributed file systems into these gigantic clustered NAS devices. So there's one big system to scan, and you need to throw a lot of firepower at it to get through that massive system. And customers moved even more data to the cloud, like Microsoft 365 and OneDrive replaced the personal folders. And the challenges that were there 15 years ago on the surface are the same, but you need a new approach to be able to be successful.
So more scalability. It sounds like just more throughput in general. More types of environments. Customers today, they want to run it as SaaS. They want to run it hosted in their AWS.
Yeah, exactly. And I think before, we really wanted to have 5 powerful data collectors for 5 different types of sources. Today, customers need 50 or 100. So we needed a platform that makes it easy to go and build new platform support when we have a customer whose data is in a new system, like they might have critical data in Jira or GitHub, and we need to go and build a connector that can solve those same problems and do it at scale and do it quickly, efficiently, in an agile approach.
So let's talk about some of those changes and what we've done now with the new version of Access Analyzer 26. And to do that, we're pleased to welcome in Vice President of Emerging Technologies, Jordan Violet, who's going to share some of the things that we did under the covers to make this product what it is. So Jordan, welcome. Good to have you here.
Hey, Grady, Jeff. It's really great to be here, guys. It's really cool when you talk about what's under the covers, when you're talking about innovating and new products. I think a lot of times everybody's thinking about what's new, what are we doing, on the horizon end of the stick. But what's really cool about innovation is it's a 2-part problem. And for us, innovation comes just as much from, how are we utilizing new technologies and what's becoming available, it seems like with AI by the day, but also what incredible and rich knowledge and history do we have? Jeff, you kind of touched on this of, the many names that have become Netwrix over time, but it really is a strength for us. We have some incredible depth of knowledge when it comes to what are the best ways and what are the pitfalls and challenges to avoid. And so it's really cool when you get to pair that intense and deep knowledge of how to do something, and you pair that with modern technologies, modern tech stacks. I think that's where the innovation happens, right? Is being able to take, the best things about what was and looking at what are the best things that are now and pairing those together. And I think that's where you get the innovation from.
What's different? What's the different approach that we took to this new version, to Access Analyzer 26? And how do we build upon the strong legacy of Access Analyzer?
Yeah, no, it's a really good question. One of the biggest things I think that comes to mind is portability. Technology is changing very quickly. Might hear it sometimes called containerization today as one of many names. But it's just the idea that we want to make sure that we're building a technology that can very easily and very quickly and safely and scalably be transported to different mediums, whether it's something that a customer wants to host on-prem, whether it's something that a customer wants to host for or wants us to host for them. It kind of lends the opportunity for partner hosting or a SaaS development. There's a lot of things that come with that containerization, and if it's done right, then you also kind of start to solve for scale at the same time. And so, we want to think like, how do we? Jeff kind of touched on this earlier. Hundreds of sources. I'm thinking, uh, tens of thousands or kind of an infinite number. And that's where you get into, some of the technological decisions that we made of, how do we build something where a connector could be built for virtually anything that you could ever think of. And that's something that I'm really excited for people to see.
So let's get technical for a minute. You've touched on a few of these concepts of containerization, scalability, but take us a level deeper. What makes this product unique compared to others that are out there on the market?
Yeah. What makes us unique? Geez, the first thing I think is the architecture. I think it's I heard this quote when I was in university. It said, "As the twig is bent, so grows the tree," and I think the inverse of that is true as well. And I think architecture is really important because it really becomes the foundation for everything that is or will be or that could be possible. And so I think our architecture for this is particularly unique. I love that the way that our connector framework is built today is that you can write a connector in any programming language that is available today. If it offers a web server, we can build on it. And therefore, if a computer can talk to it, it's a source that we can connect to. So it doesn't matter how obscure the data is, as long as you can have a computer that can connect to it, there is a path to building a connector for that data. And I think that is incredibly unique. The other, and I mentioned this earlier, the other is scale, is that not just can we scale, but that we can scale connectors independently of each other. So if you have a connector where you're looking to scan hundreds of thousands or tens of millions of files, you can scale that connector up. But if you're looking to build a connector for, let's say, Chat GPT data, and maybe it's early on in your company's adoption of, let's say, Chat GPT, and you might only have hundreds, thousands, tens of thousands, maybe a couple 100,000 entries in that JSON data. Well, you don't need to scale that as much, and so you can conserve those resources for something that may matter more at the time. So I would say, bar none, that is probably one of the most unique things that we have for us in this new road that we're on, is that our architecture has given us an incredible amount of flexibility to decide how we want to approach different problems going forward. And never say never, but I would say it gives us an incredible amount of flexibility to the point where I cannot think at the moment of hardly anything that it would prevent us from doing. So I would say, bar none, architecture.
That's really exciting. And Jordan, one of the things that I know customers use Access Analyzer for the most is reporting and visualization of their data. What's different in the new version?
Yeah, what's different? Again, I think the most important thing to go back to is our ability to collect data. So the architecture again. We have a very free form approach to how do we allow connectors to be built so that we can connect to and collect data from virtually anywhere. The second part then is visualization, and we're using some incredible services under the hood. We decided early on in this project, we said, what kind of company are we and what aren't we? Are we a company that creates custom data visualization libraries? If that's what we are, then we should do that. And of course, that's not what we are. We're here about collecting the data as fast as we can at scale, and we want to leave the visualization to those that do it best. So we looked at some of the best libraries out there to say, how can we analyze tens of millions, hundreds of millions, billions of records and try to do it in, just a couple seconds or even less. So I would say visualization, it's a really good point, Jeff, is the architecture is only half the problem. You actually have to be able to build something on it. And the visualization is a two-part problem. One is the ability to collect that data quickly and efficiently, and the other is the ability to display it well. And we have some really cool tools using services like Metabase to be able to accomplish that.
Yeah, I know one thing that was always a challenge for us with Access Analyzer was not just collecting the data, but sharing it and integrating it with other applications that customers rely on. What have we done differently to make this data more accessible to customers?
That's a good one, and one that I feel like I hear this a lot on videos, near and dear to my heart, but it really is. I'm a software engineer, and if you go look at my history, I've worked in developer relations, developer experience, developer tooling, developer community, and so the ability to get access to everything that you want as a developer, to kind of have that unfettered access, like that's what I'm always looking for everywhere I go. It's like, where's the export button? And so one thing that we've done is our applications going forward, they will always have RESTful APIs. But the second is we want to give you as low level database access as we can. So we're using open source, modern database technologies. We're using Postgres in the case of Access Analyzer, as well as ClickHouse for columnar data. And it's really cool to see, like, what are some of the biggest, most forward-thinking companies doing? It was cool to see an article with Tesla where they recently pushed a ClickHouse database to right around 1 billion inserts per second, every second for, I want to say it was about 7 or 14 days straight without a single failure. So we're looking at what are some of the most cutting-edge, successful tech companies out there doing. And we're not necessarily blindly following them, but when they happen to use the same database that we do, it's really cool to see what they're doing with it. The second that I would say is not maybe something that we're doing directly, at least not yet, but really sort of what comes from that. So when you have data that you can exfiltrate on your own, when you have RESTful APIs, well, that opens you up to a whole world of being able to connect this application to virtually anything that you could think of. So if something can take in a RESTful API, especially if something can make use of it, like an MCP server or different AI tools. And again, being able to ingest that database data, whether we provide it in some sort of SQL dump or something like that, we want to make sure that we give users that unfettered access to their own data so that they can make those choices that are best for them, for their teams, for their businesses. Yeah, I think that's something that we're doing that's really cool.
Jordan, you've mentioned a number of open source projects out there that we lean on. We also give a lot back to the open source community. Can you talk about Netwrix's commitment to open source, and in particular in AA26? What are some of the things that our customers should look for?
I think there's 2 ways in particular that come to mind for me the most. The first is that, again, we're looking for like cutting edge open technologies that are the best in their space. Postgres for database, I'd say for standard SQL database. We're using ClickHouse columnar database for a lot of data that needs to be read very quickly. We are using different open source frameworks for our connector framework, which we're going to be able to open source Netwrix connector. So we're actually going to be open sourcing some, if not hopefully most, or even all of our connectors. But we want to make sure that connecting with our products are easy. That's one thing that we're doing, and I think it comes out a lot in open source. So whether it's tools that we're using or it is things that we want to give back through the product. So we want to open source connectors. We want to open source our templates that our connectors are built on. We were just talking about default detection patterns that will probably be shipped out of the box. And my first thought was, well, why don't we open source those? Because who knows where somebody else may want to use those patterns. But also people can contribute to those patterns, right? What if there's 50 different versions of a particular credit card pattern and somebody wants to contribute to that? The cool thing about the security community is I would say it is one of the most inclusive, sort of we're all in this together, going towards that same goal of providing secure software and secure businesses. And so one of the cool things about that is their commitment to open source. So being able to say, hey, we're going to put our default patterns out there. I would hope to see that we're going to even start to push the envelope on what is possible in different spaces, like the most optimal way to connect to a particular data source. Maybe we start to publish libraries for that. So I would hope to see us move in that direction. And I guess I'll use this video as proof. Maybe future me in a year will watch this and see if we've accomplished that or not. But that's definitely the direction we're heading. And I think that's the important takeaway is that, we're not just looking at the bare minimum. Hey, let's just like kick a few bucks over to some open source project, but we're using it internally in the business. We're using some of the best available open source tools like our database technologies that I mentioned. We're looking at how we can open source things from our product and give it back directly to our customers and to our partners. And then we're saying, like, what else could we do? Like, could we be someone's a company, people who are actually even, I would say delivering net new into the open source space. And that's something I'm really excited about.
Great. Thanks so much, Jordan. And Jeff, thank you for joining us as well. Real excited to continue to get the new product out into the hands of customers and to get their feedback so we can keep making it the best data security product out there.
Yeah, me too. Can't wait.